Okay, I think we will crack on. So, good afternoon now, isn't it? 3 minutes past 12. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for giving up some of your time for today's session. Just a quick bit of housekeeping before we kind of kick on. There are slides, but there's not that much on the slides. They're more to keep me on track than anything else. So if you want to mess around with your Zoom screens, I wouldn't necessarily have the slides dominating your screen, because they're not going to be all that interesting. But on that note, and in terms of keeping notes, if you'd like a copy of the slides or a recording or a copy of the recording, then all that's going to be available to you shortly after the session. In terms of the session itself, if you've got burning questions, then kind of wave your hand or put them into the chat and Megan will keep an eye on it. But there will be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Hopefully there's something you're going to get out of this all the way through, but I really want to make sure that there's specific value that you take away. So plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the session. Either keep your questions till then and sling your hand up, or if you want to put them into the chat as you go, Megan will collate them and feed them back to me at the end. Okay, so 84% of B2B decision makers start the buying process with a referral. And once those referrals come in, the lifetime value for new referrals is 16% higher than standard customers. And I don't think that even takes into the fact that referred customers often refer as well. So that doesn't even take that into account. And companies with formalized referral marketing programs, 86% more revenue growth. So big stats. Really puts that, it's not what you know, but who you know, into context. It's something that we've all heard, but how much do we really put it into practice? Word of mouth is the oldest form of marketing, probably still the most successful, almost certainly, but yet it's the one that so few of us really put a strategy behind. So much so that in the same survey, only 30% of companies surveyed had a formalized referral program. So, quick question for you all, and this is something I do at the start of all my sessions. Hands up if you're currently getting word of mouth and referral introductions into your business. Everyone, yes, brilliant. And how many of you are asking consistently? Okay, yeah, okay. Yvonne, you did the standard, yeah, kind of, maybe. How many of you have a proper process behind it? Okay. Natalie, you've been on my referral workshop. I was expecting you to be putting your hand straight up there. And then can I ask, how many of you have got existing partners in place? So these are people where there are other businesses, maybe you didn't even know them before going in partnership, but they're referring on a consistent basis. How many of you think you have partners in place? So Ian, Sarah, John's, and maybe Paula and Natalie. Okay, cool. Great. It just gives me a good barometer of where we're at in the room. So for me, referrals are great. We all get them. They're lovely. They can come from anyone and everyone, but the quality and the quantity can vary. Often they're seen as kind of bonus leads that drop in. And sometimes those leads aren't ones that we really want to be talking to, but we do because we don't want to upset the person that referred us. The great thing about partnerships is these are strategic relationships. These aren't random. They're relationships that we've gone out and found because the people involved have a vested interest in referring our ideal customer at the ideal time for them to buy on a consistent basis. And it's those sorts of relationships that we're going to focus on how we build today. So we had a quick show of hands of people who thought they had some partners in place. All still confident on that definition that you've got some partners in place? Yeah, getting nods from Natalie and Ian. And who here would like more of those relationships in 2023? Okay, yeah. So I'm expecting if you're not raising your hand here, it's probably not the workshop for you. So right, before we go any further, that we've got that in. Who am I? Just very quickly, why am I doing this thing? So I've not been in partnerships quite as long as that, but I like that picture more because I was quite a cute kid. So I've got a background in business membership. I grew my own membership organization, Business Scene, which you can see in the top corner there, to a couple of thousand members, almost entirely through strategic partnerships and referrals. That then morphed into a business benefit business where I was responsible for providing thousands of leads over the years to some of the big brands you see there. So we acted as an access to the SME market for some of these big brands. So a lot of my experience comes from actually providing leads to others rather than hunting them down myself. And so I've had some successes along the way, but I have made or witnessed many, many, many more mistakes. And I think that's probably where we get our greatest learnings from. And so what I now do is help business owners just like you implement their own strategic referral partner programs, giving people the skills and the strategies and the systems to do so on a consistent basis. And strategy is absolutely the key word here. You need to be strategic. And if you're going to do that, you need to have a framework. And my framework that I've developed is dance. And that's where my 5 steps come in that we're going to cover today. So I hope you all have your dancing shoes. First, we're going to cover discovery, which is all about who you're partnering with. Then we're going to cover assembly, which is making sure you've got the right behind the scenes systems and processes. Then we're going to look at nurturing, which is how you communicate with your partners, keep them engaged with you right from the outset. Then we're going to look at connection. This is how you help your partners connect you to their audience. It's a piece that so many people fall down on. So we're going to make sure we cover that. And then we'll look at engagement. How do you actually go out and find these partners? Does that sound good for everyone? Yeah? Nods? All good? Okay, right. So that's going to be the 5 steps I'm going to cover. But there is an overriding rule on all of this, which is about making it easy. This oversees everything that we talk about in partnerships, is you need to make it as easy as possible for your partners to do what you want them to do. We are all very busy. Hands up here, anyone who isn't busy at the moment. We're all busy people, which means we become lazy. And I don't mean sitting around Netflix lazy. I mean, if something isn't part of our core activity, and if it isn't easy for us to do, we put it onto that kind of I'll get round to it pile. And I don't know about you, but the only time that pile, I get round to that pile, is when I sweep it off my metaphorical desk and start again. So if we want people to do things that are above and beyond what they would normally do, it's all about making it easy at every point. So with that said, I'm going to move on to discovery. So discovery is all about identifying who your ideal partner is. Now, if that doesn't mean we don't work with anyone else. It just means that if we know who an ideal partner is, then we're much more likely to attract those to us. And it's all about being specific around who they are and the value that we can deliver them. But that specificity has to start somewhere. And it has to start with who an ideal client is, because if you don't know who your ideal client is, how do you know who an ideal partner is going to be? So this isn't a workshop on niching, but hands up if you've got a really, and in fact, bung them in the chat, if you've got a really clear ICP, ideal client profile or customer avatar. Quick show of hands and maybe put them in the chat if you think you've got a really clearly defined one. Okay, hands up if you know you maybe should have one a little bit tighter, but you've just been pushing it away because the FOMO's too hard and you want to work with everyone. Okay, yeah, a few more hands go up. I kind of class myself in that boat myself, to be honest with you. Cobbler's shoes scenario. I think the thing is with partners is if we're too broad in the types of partner that we're looking for, then it's really hard to demonstrate value and build trust quickly with them. So the more specific we can be, the easier we'll find it to have a really high value partner program. So, and one thing that I would really recommend you to do is not necessarily, this isn't about suddenly niching your whole business to suit a partner program. It's about looking at segmenting your audience. Which segments of the audience that you serve do you love to work with, deliver highly profitable work that you feel that you're delivering value with, and that it's demonstratable value. Because if you've got a specialism, whatever it may be, or a desire to move into an area where you can show social proof around that, then that's really the area that's prime for partnering. I'm not saying you can't partner in a more general way. I'm saying you'll find it much easier if you pick a segment of your marketplace and target that. So that's the thing about being specific. And because once we've been specific about who we're looking for, then we're able to be really specific about why they might want to work for us. And this is what I call the partner value proposition. And it is the thing, having a strong partner value proposition is the thing that all your work will hinge on, right from the very get-go. It's really important to understand this. Ian, I'm going to pick on you, if that's okay, for a little bit of audience interaction. The partner, just because you said you've got a meeting coming up, what your potential partner, what do they do, and why is it you think that they want to work with you?
Well, it's slightly unusual from my normal introducer, who would be an IFA or accountant, but it's actually someone who's a member of my bowls club, which has got a few hundred members.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much a target type audience, and he's got lots and lots of contacts and happens to be a fantastic salesperson. So I'm fairly new to the club, and therefore it's been suggested by my VA, who works for him as well, that he would be an excellent person with excellent connections to get round and give me a few introductions.
Okay, awesome. So as is usual with these live things, that's not the best example I could have had to demonstrate a partner value proposition.
No.
So, thank you, Ian. But yeah, but absolutely valid. So there will be a reason for him doing it other than just the money. And if he's known as a well-connected person, then that helps do that because he likes introducing the right people. And you will find partners who do that. But typically your best partner will be someone who are talking to your target market about something congruent at the right time. So quite often that they are the people whose product or service might come directly before yours or at the same time. And they will have a vested interest in referring you. An example I'm going to give here is one around, I'll do a kind of a tradey one and then I'll do a service one. So an obvious one would be things like architects and high quality decorators and interior designers, where the matchup there is the architect wants to see their vision come to life really well. So they will recommend high quality tradespeople because at the end of the day, their work will end up looking better in the customer's eyes, which means the customer's happier, is more likely to refer them, is more likely to use them again in future. Putting that into a business context, I knew someone who, or still do know someone who ran a telemarketing agency. High-end telemarketing, and they were targeting people who did inbound search, so PPC, SEO, that type of thing, and their positioning was all around the commission, and that really wasn't what was exciting. They weren't getting much traction, and it's because that's what wasn't exciting them. What excited these inbound search people was that they were generating leads, but then if the customer sales processes weren't up to scratch, well, then those leads weren't going anywhere. So the conversion wasn't very high. And that doesn't reflect positively on the leads. But being able to refer in a really high quality appointment setting telesales service, it meant the leads that they were generated were followed up better, converted into more customers, which meant their activity was seen more positively in the customer's eyes, which meant they not only continued to work with them, but actually invested more in that upfront bit of lead generation because the things were following through. And so that's a really strong thing around where that partner value proposition is. If you're in the creative space, it could be a website designer working with a really good copywriter to make sure that the words that go on this beautifully designed website marry up. It's whose product or service can you directly enhance the value of. because that is where you'll find your absolute gold dust. Now, not sometimes the partner value proposition isn't always as direct as that. It can be a bit more indirect. So if you're looking to partner with accountants, they might just want to be seen as a trusted advisor, for example. But if you can find ones where there is that direct correlation, then that's when the real magic happens. And you need to keep that front and center in all your messaging, and we'll come back to that. So that's step number one, is make sure you've got a really strong partner value proposition. Next, move on to assembly. So this is the behind the scenes. This is the behind the scenes pieces. This is all the systems that keep it working well. And there's two reasons why this is so important. The first one is to build trust. This stuff won't win you new partners, but believe me, if you get it wrong, then you'll lose trust. And trust is so important in a partnership, because if you take time to develop these partnerships, the last thing you want for one of your competitors to get on the phone and your partner to move. And so you want rock solid trust. You want these to be long-term relationships. So you need to have the right systems in place to deliver a consistent level of service and develop trust. But that also means they're set up for scale. And for this, it means that we can have our gold standard systems and processes. It doesn't mean we have to do that from day one. Things like CRM systems and all that sort of stuff. I always say it's better to have a spreadsheet you use than the CRM system that you don't, but you do need to have these systems in place. And I'm going to touch on just a couple of them first. The first one is around tracking. If you're getting a volume of leads in from your partners, absolutely rule number one is know who those leads came from, where they are in your buying, in your kind of customer journey and buying cycle, and if they're already a customer, what they're buying. It seems really, really basic, but believe me, people don't do that. I had a partner back in the business benefit business who, when I would phone them up and ask them about a certain lead, and they weren't able to tell me. And that says one of two things. It either says that they've been a bit crafty because they haven't registered it as my lead because they want to avoid paying a commission, or that they don't know. So they're looking either look like a crook or they're incompetent. Neither of those are a good look if you want to form long-term partnerships. So it's really important to be able to kind of track where leads that have come in are in your system. And the other piece that that's worth mentioning, and again based on another kind of horror story from my side, is about volume of leads. Now, if your product or service is one where you're anticipating potentially a high volume of leads, make sure that you have the systems in place to be able to respond to them promptly. One of our membership organization, we work with a national data provider, a household name, to run a campaign to get some free sales data for our members and our prospects. And it was going to be this great campaign that generated loads of interest. We told them we thought it'd be a good response rate. They said yes, yes, yes. We generated them 400 leads in the space of about 3 days. And instead of a 1 day turnaround that they promised, 2 days, I think it was 2 days actually, it would take them up to 2 weeks to respond. They just didn't expect that volume, which meant instead of it being a wonderfully positive experience for us, of people wanting to join us and happy members, we had the exact opposite. People coming to us and moaning and complaining that they weren't getting the service they delivered. And the relationship never really recovered. So in most instances, when you kick off your partnerships, there won't be the flood of leads that you both imagined would come through. So I always kind of not expect the worst, but downplay your expectations, but at least have a plan in place for if things do go wildly successful, because it will just keep that trust. One other thing on this, which is probably the right time to mention it, because I mentioned commission, reward and recognition. Now, if we're looking at customer referrals, it's a really grey area around whether you reward or not. It's all around extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So a long subject. For strategic referral partnerships, I'm a fan of making them commercial. It's what turns it into that, oh yeah, I've got a partner and we shake hands on it and we pass each other the lead here and there. Turns it from that into something that's a proper business relationship. It means that potentially it's not dependent on just one person in the organization in a personal relationship. There's a real value here. And another thing to just note here is around cross referrals. It's very rare that your ideal partner providing you leads, you're their ideal partner providing leads. So while I think we should cross refer where we can, a partnership purely based on that, I'm not huge fans of, because typically one side will start referring more and cracks can appear. So yeah, I'm a fan of making it a commercial relationship where we're looking at these strategic ones, particularly where we're going out and working with new businesses. Okay, so we need to have a really clear partner value proposition. We need to make sure we've got the right systems and structures in place. And then we move on to how we nurture. So the processes in place for communicating with our partners, which is vital. Partnerships are based on human relationships at the end of the day, and that absolutely needs to be kept front and center. And so there are different reasons for communicating with our partners: transactional, and then personal relationship building. And I think it's really important to remember that personal relationship building. I've seen lots of partner programs, particularly at the bit large scale, where in the assembly part, they have these big, massive systems in place to automate absolutely everything. And that's great for the transactional stuff, but it negates that human element of the relationship. So we absolutely need to remember that we're covering both sides of this. So yeah, different reasons and then different styles of communication, whether it's that automated transactional stuff or the more personal relationship building. So much to cover on this side, but I just want to give you 3 things that are the most important. First one, and this is the main reason why partnerships that I've seen go wrong have gone wrong. You know what, quick show of hands, how many of you have been in kind of partner or loose collaboration relationships, and for whatever reason they've just turned not necessarily sour, but sometimes sour, but they just haven't felt right over time? No, go show of hands from Natalie, and you can't quite put your finger on it. Okay, nicely done, Natalie. You're the first, and other people admitted. Good work. In my experience, quite a lot of the time, that's because expectations haven't been set. We have these initial meetings where we're planning real domination and everything's going to be fine. In fact, it's going to be more than fine. It's going to be spectacular. It's our retirement plans. And then things just don't quite work out as they are. Something happens off kilter or off time, and it just dwindles away. And that's normally because we haven't set expectations. And we need to be setting both short-term expectations of what we're doing right now, and then the mid to long-term expectations. And the long-term expectations are very easy to assume that we all know where we're heading because we're having a wonderful conversation, right? But if we're only 5% apart in our thinking, oh my God, I'll get this right on my camera, like over time, that 5% gets wider and wider and wider. And so there's like this chasm. I did that really badly. I think I'm going to do it on a bit of paper next time. And so that little tiny difference at the start becomes a big glaring difference further on. So really important to just know that you're both on the same page about where this is heading. The next thing on the journey is to keep your partners informed. So this links into that tracking piece. Don't wait for your partners to ask for where people are. Let them know. Keep them updated. You don't want your partners wondering what's happening with leads and customers that they part over. Remember that every time someone makes a referral to you, what they're doing is they're giving you a little piece of their reputation. And you need to treasure that little piece of their reputation because they've worked long and hard to build it. And so give it the respect it deserves. Treat their customers well, and keep your partners informed about what's going on. This absolutely can be where the automated, more transactional side of things can come. And then the other piece on this, which links into the expectations piece, have formal reviews. Even if you're chatting to your partners all the time, have formal reviews. It's where you can go back to those expectations, make sure everything's going smoothly. It means if you have set those expectations, if there's potentially awkward conversations, they're not so awkward because you've got something to raise. But more importantly than that, this is a great time where you can ask, is there anything we can be doing better? And your partner may give you some niggles that they maybe wouldn't have picked up the phone and told you, but by you asking will tell them, and you can smooth those niggles out. Remember that make it easy mantra. And the other thing here is it's a great time to be curious. Ask them what else is going on in their world. Curiosity is the birthplace of opportunity. And by having that time to just be curious with your partners about what's going on, you will uncover more opportunity. So that's and there's many more communication touch points, but I think these are three key ones for you. So we've got a strong partner value proposition. We know we've got the systems in place to deliver the right level of service, and we're communicating with them well right from the outset and ongoing. The next thing we need to do is make sure that the partnership actually works. So again, those of you that have had kind of referral partnerships in place, how many of them just haven't delivered like the leads that we're expecting? Or how many of you have had relationships? So often people set up a partner relationship and you shake hands on it and we're going to refer each other, and then you sit there and you wait for the phone to ring, or the emails to come flooding in, or the landing page to get untold number of hits, and it doesn't happen. And it's because if you really want to make a partnership work, you need to give your partner all the tools to be able to do so. And this is what ties the partnership all together. Do you see what I did there with the laces, right? I tied it in. Just, if you have to explain it, it's not funny. I do get that, but I'm quite proud of that. And this again comes back to making it easy, okay? You need to make it, if you want your partner to do something, whether it's verbally refer you, whether it's send an email out, whatever it may be, make it easy for them. You do the hard work. Not only will you do it better with the right message, but they'll be more likely to do it. And this comes into two aspects. We have partner facing materials. So this works especially well where you're looking for your partners to make in-person referrals, whether that's over the phone or in person, but a one-to-one referral is where the likely source is going to be, where they've got that more trusted relationship. And what this is all the stuff that's in your head about how to sell your product or service. What are the triggers to listen out to? If someone says something, that's the trigger to refer me. It's when is the ideal moment in time in a customer's journey in their life cycle to refer you in. All those things that are in your head that you know are buying signals, share that stuff with your partners. Give them the benefit of your expertise. You may think it's common sense. It's not. It's experience. It's not common sense. It's experience. Like, quick show of hands. How many people here think that what you do has a large element of common sense behind it? Yeah, me included, massively. We think that because we've got years of experience in it. And so give your partners the benefit of that doubt by sharing that with them. You can do partner training. You can provide it to them on cheat sheets. But it's absolutely vital to share that information with them. If you're worried about maybe teach them to suck eggs, it's all about the positioning. You can kind of say to them, look, no, you're okay with this stuff, but we've had other partners who find this information really valuable, so I thought I'd share it with you. So you can position it in a really nice way, but it's always better to overshare than undershare. The other side of this is customer facing materials. So I need a drink, so I'm going to ask people to come off mics and just shout out the kind of things that you could be sharing with your partners that allow them to kind of market you out to their customers in a kind of digital or in-person format. Big old list. I mean, there's a big bunch there, but how many of you have done this stuff and seen it work? Silence. Oh, Alison, thank you.
Case studies. I've created case studies of past projects that then they can share to their prospective clients as well to see the experience I've got.
Yeah, perfect. Any more where they've shared this type of stuff? Natalie, you're
workshops.
Sorry,
that was me. Workshops. Inviting
absolutely
into workshops which you're presenting.
Yeah.
Essentially, like marketing graphics.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff. Essentially, it's anything that you're doing in your own business that works, let your partners have. With one massive double underlined in bold exception. You don't just send them your stuff, because that would be being lazy. And we're not going to be lazy, are we? We're going to make it easy for our partners. So you take that content that you know works for you and you tweak it so that your partners can essentially cut and paste it and send it from them. The amount of times when I was working with some of those big brands that were on the slide with the picture of the cute kid, where their marketing department would send me stuff, and either me or someone in the team would have to edit the content so that it was right for us to send out on someone else's behalf. And it just used to annoy us. And you don't want annoyed partners. You want partners who love working with you because everything is super smooth and easy. So if you've got a really well worded social post or email campaign or whatever it may be that you send out direct, take the time to tweak it ever so slightly so it sounds like it's coming from your partner, so that they can send it straight out. They will be much more likely to do it. And even if they do it with your standard content, but they edit it, they're editing it. Do you want to be in control of the copy, or do you want to let the partner be in control of the copy? Much, much better for you to do it. So all the stuff that you do, let your partners have it, but just tweak to make sure that it's right for them. The other thing to be able to do, absolutely, is ask them. So you've got the stuff that you know works, and you can kind of have that in your locker as a stuff that's ready to go as soon as you bring a partner on. But ask them what they do. What are they doing that's getting good traction? Maybe they've got a podcast that they run, or maybe they're running monthly events for or workshops, I think Gary mentioned, or webinars. Ask your partners what they're doing. Because as much as you might think, oh, am I being cheeky here? It's just more and more exposure for me. If you've got your partner value proposition right, then they want to promote you. And if they have got a regular newsletter or podcast or whatever it may be, there's a good chance that they're looking for content, which means by you going, yeah, I've got some high value content for you, you're doing them a favor as well as giving yourself a chance to promote. And that's where that whole partner value proposition stuff kicks in. So really important to get both sides right. But depending on the types of leads you're looking for, the types of partners you're working with, one will typically be slightly more priority for you than the other. So we've got a strong partner value proposition. We've got the systems and processes in place, the communications there. We've got all the materials, so we're good to go now. We just need to go out and find a whole load of partners. And this is where the engagement bit comes in. And it's when I work with people, it's the bit that most people are most excited and want to jump to straight away. And it's the last letter in my framework for a reason. And that's because if you get all the other bits right, then actually this bit's pretty easy. Because your dream partner, right, if you're starting from scratch, your dream partner isn't your dream partner a year or two down the line when you've got an established partner program. If you took on who your dream partner, if your business was at full capacity now, they break you. You wouldn't be able to deliver the service levels potentially. And that's not what you want. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so your ideal partners right now are people that are going to be able to grow as you do. They're going to maybe be a bit kinder, maybe be a bit more forgiving if you're early in the stages of setting up your partner program. So there's a couple of, to go and get those, there's a couple of things to remember here. First and foremost, remember your partner value proposition. If when you're going out to people that are slightly cold and you talk about all the value you deliver to their client, then it's just going to scream that you want to sell to my clients, like all the other LinkedIn messages you may get. If you go out there with a message that talks about the value you deliver to them as a partner, that partner value proposition piece, then they're much more likely to start having that conversation with you. So make sure you keep the partner value proposition bit front of mind. Focus on the partner, not their client. And then use your network. Use your network. So there's two things here, is use your network for introductions. People are much more likely to introduce partners than they are clients. It removes any ick factor in someone making a referral for you, because they're not referring someone to be sold to, they're referring someone where there's an opportunity for them, because you've got a strong partner value proposition. But the other thing is your immediate network. If you've got someone in your network who's within your target partner, ask them for help. People love to help. So let them know that you've got a partner program coming up and you'd like their feedback on it. It's a great way of getting some initial traction and getting that feedback if you're on the money or not. And if you are on the money, well then you potentially get a partner out of them without going and pitching to them. And typically when we start with what we've got around us, which is for most people is more than enough to get going on a partner program, as we get our experience, we can build out and out and out and out and out, and social proof and partner case studies become more important as we move through. So have a strong partner value proposition. Have your systems and processes ready to scale and make sure that you're maintaining and building trust with your partners. Communicate with your partners in multiple ways, both get the transactional bits in there, but don't forget the human element. Give them all the tools they need to make it easy for them to refer you on a consistent basis, easily. And if you get all that right, then you should be able to go out and engage with these partners with relative ease. So that's the end of the full presentation. Going to give just, if you've got time, just 2 minutes on if you want to work with me, what that looks like, and I will open the floor to Q&A. First up, I have my Kick-Ass Collaboration Program. Is this framework that we've just gone through, delivered in a group coaching format. It runs over 6 months with 2 sessions per month. The idea being that we do doing on the actual calls. It's kind of a mix of coaching and consultancy, and you actually implement in between those in between those sessions. So very much holding you to account, very much kind of getting this done. It's a 6-month program, but your partnership program is ready to launch by month 4, and that's £400 a month. We kick off on Thursday, 16th of February, and then run every first and from then on. Anyone who signs up this month gets a bonus one-to-one session with me on either straight away or at some part in the program. Obviously, I do tailored support as well, either one-to-one or if you've got a team, working with the relevant members of your team, online or in person. That starts from kind of 340 quid all the way up to just over £5,000 for the full dance framework in a one-to-one format. So that's that. If you would like the slides, the recordings, book a call with me to have a chat about any of this stuff, Megan's going to put the links in the chat, or you can QR code it and beep it. Steve, you don't need to book a call. We're meeting tomorrow. We are still meeting tomorrow, aren't we, Steve? Yeah. Yeah. Can I get a nod of the head? That's good. I've got an early train. Okay, right. That's all. Thank you all. Questions to the floor. To the floor for questions about how you can use this in your own businesses. Natalie, yes.
How would you go about the reward part of things? Like, how would you approach that with a potential client, partner?
Okay, so there is no right or wrong here. I would say first and foremost, there's just a bunch of things to think about. And I did a whole LinkedIn video on the YouTube video on this, which Megan is now going to go and get the link, hopefully, ideally. But essentially, the first thing to do is pick how much margin you've got that you're willing to give up. Yeah. Now, some partners may want an offer for their members, their customers, their audience. In which case, that comes out of that share, right? And so that's the first thing. The first thing is understanding what margins you've got that you're happy to play with, and look at it as a cost of sale. The second thing is looking at, is this being split between partner and customer, or just the partner? And then from then on, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, is it going to be a one-off fee? Is it going to be a percentage of a fee? Is it going to be for just the first order, or is it lifetime value of customer? I'm a big fan of lifetime value, by the way. I'm just putting it out there. But even if you're doing lifetime value, you can lower percentages for second orders, or after a year, or whatever it may be, or they have to be an active referrer to continue to get commission. There is a lot of it there. The key thing that's got to be remembered is it needs to be inspiring for the partner and not resentful for you. You don't want to be begrudging leads coming in from this partner because you're giving away too much margin, but equally you don't want them feeling disgruntled. So it's getting that balance right. And often, if you've got that partner value proposition piece right, that's 95% of the reason why they want to refer you. So if you've got the right match and the right partner, then that money conversation can often be much easier than we think it's going to be, Natalie. So yes,
Thank you.
sorry I couldn't give a definitive one there, but because there is so many moving parts in it. But yeah, up front, yeah, have the conversation up front and just be open and honest about it. Thanks, Natalie. Nikki?
Hi, thanks for that. I think it's a similar question actually, but I just wanted you to explain a bit more about what you mean when you say making it a partnership commercial. What's the definition of that? Does that mean money changes hands? Does that mean you're doing one of these, giving them a percentage?
Yeah, so for me, so for commercial, it's me. Yeah, it's that there's a financial incentive for them to do that. And as I said, that financial incentive is only for most partnerships. There are some exceptions, but for the vast majority of partnerships, it's not the main reason why they want to refer you. But there's this stat, isn't there? 95% of our decision making is emotional, but then there's this logic bit. You still have to do the logic bit, and that financed bit is what keeps it is what makes it that commercial relationship, particularly in larger businesses as well. If you're dealing with a larger business, then it can often be more crucial, and it future proofs it against other people leaving. That said, there are some sectors that can't do it. Accountants, for example, some accountants might not want to accept commissions. There can be all sorts of people where they've got financial regulations and they can't. In that instance, there are other things you can do that still keep it there. You can pass it on to the customer. You can do a charity pot. If you can have a charity that in some way relates to your work, that can really work. So there are other options to do it. Sometimes people will genuinely just won't want it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I would always have the conversation so that it's there and upfront if needed.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
No worries. Ian.
Yeah, hi Dave. When I first started 5 or 6 years ago now, it was a bit scattergun. I was, running around meeting tons and tons of IFAs and people that I knew or were referred to talk to. What do you think is the best way of trying to rekindle some of those relationships?
So first off, with openness and honesty about where you were at and the journey that you've been on, kind of thing. And then with a if they're already people who get your partner value proposition, so they're already contacts, I would say by just making it clear to them that you have some of these systems and processes in place now, give them a reason for re-engaging with you. So maybe remind them of the partner value proposition, but then make it clear to them they're not going to be having a meeting with you just for you to disappear again. And I think you only get that from kind of openness and honesty, and then you having the confidence that you've got the structures in place behind you that you are going to be able to manage those. And that's if 30 IFAs all do suddenly kind of go, oh yeah, brilliant, I'd love to work with you. Let's do this. How does this look like? That that actually that's okay. No, I've got things in place that means that I can run this and it's going to work. And so I would make sure you got that in place first, and then go out with an open and honest message, and know that some of them won't, others will. So
yeah, okay, thank you.
Cool. Judy.
Dave, hello. Thank you very much for that presentation. I've been in business for quite a while, and I'm pathetically naive around this. So I am so green about setting up partnerships. And could you just tell me a little bit more about literally how to start? So I'm a business coach and trainer, and I would love to have a partner who will promote me. So how do I go about it? Literally start.
So the first thing, so how I would literally start, how I do the discovery process with my clients is we first off get that ideal customer really, really tight. And then what I would do is I do a brainstorming session. But if you're doing it with yourself, I would go for a walk, I'd get out of the office, go somewhere creative, and just come up with a massive list of everything that everything else that your target market is buying, or where they're hanging out, what are they consuming, and just come up with that big old list. Don't pre-qualify. Like if as you think something, you think it's probably not an ideal partner type, still put it on the list. You want to keep your brain in like positive state. Come up with a massive list, then go back through it and kind of cross off the ones that obviously aren't going to be a partner for you. Sit with it again, do it again, and you'll come down to a kind of 4 or 5 that seem right. And these will be people that are having congruent. They need to be your partner shortlist will be people who are having congruent conversations and have the right level of authority that a referral would mean and something. And once you've got that shorter list, that's when you start looking at where the partner value propositions are. So that's the first thing I would do in terms of identifying who the right partners are. And then the other crucial bit is the expectation bit, Judy. That's the really crucial bit, is going, well, what do I actually want them to do? And what
Dave,
can I
sorry.
do for them?
I'm slightly confused. So when you say I'm brainstorming my target audience, where are they? What are they buying, etc., etc., etc. So how do I, what is the step from that turning it into my perfect partner?
So the first step is to just cross off anyone where like that's not congruent. They're not. So it's all around. Are these people having congruent conversations about? So they're having things where coaching may come up, or it could be positioned. And do they have the right level of authority that a referral would actually mean something? And that's how you shorten the list down.
Right. Okay. So my target audience is my target client.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a bit confused. Okay. Right. Okay. Thanks.
No worries at all. No worries at all. See you, Judy. Any more for any more? Oh, I should have took that down ages ago, shouldn't I? Sorry, people. Okay. On that note, then, I'm going to say thank you all very much for giving up your lunch break. Ian, go on. Yeah.
Well, as we hadn't run out of time, I thought I'd ask another one. When you talk about the value proposition and the partner program, is that actually formalized in writing when you're dealing with a partner?
Or partnership agreements. Or
do you suggest or recommend those?
So in my time, as you can imagine, with some of the brands that flash up on that screen, I signed massive contracts like that. That were full of stuff I didn't read, if I'm being perfectly honest. Kind of flicked to the appendices, which were the fun part. Like what market was going to happen, how much I was going to get paid, and all that sort of lovely stuff. And so often I see people that have these agreements and they're a list of bad stuff and then an appendix about commissions. So this comes back to the setting expectations part. I am a big believer in partnership agreements, but I'm a believer in them, yes, covering off some of the essential stuff, particularly if you've got IP involved and things like that, but about what people are going to do. Where are we headed? What are we both going to do? How are we going to work together? And so I'm a fan of partnership agreements, but I'm not a fan of long, wordy documents full of legal jargon. So everyone needs to make sure they're protected, but I think they're better used to make sure everyone's on the same page. Which doesn't necessarily mean a signed document. I recommend that they are. It makes it that bit more formal. So people go, right, this isn't just a friendly relationship. This is something that we're both committing to. And there's a thing about even if it's a some bullet points on a bit of on a Word doc that you somehow manage to get signed or whatever, that's still great. But at the very least, I would send an email and get someone to confirm by reply that you're both on the same page with this.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of it. I think it sets the tone that this is something we're both going to commit to and take seriously. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan of them, but probably not in the traditional sense.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
No worries at all. No, all good then. Unless Ian's got a third question. No, all right, right. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. If anyone wants to book a call, do so. Or as ever, if anyone, if this isn't right for you, but you know someone where you think, you know what, you hear people know that partnerships are something they're looking to take seriously, then yeah, an introduction is always welcome. And if anyone wants to say nice things on LinkedIn about me, that is also always welcome. Okay, thank you very much for your time. You've been by far the most gorgeous audience I've spoken to today. Goodbye.